water and. Okay.
Yeah, I've been feeling into it because yesterday our internet was out. Today we have Hands on the Land where we all work on the property and do, different work with plants, watering and different stuff along those lines. Otherwise, I would have gone down to, actually, I was going to use it as an excuse to go down to the beach and just do the lyrics and lunch down there. But again, with it only being 5 minutes in advance, I didn't really have the opportunity to go down. And then I was like, maybe if we do this on Thursdays, maybe not tomorrow, but would Thursdays at this same time work for you? If
I think so. Yeah, Thursdays would be okay, I guess. I just, yeah. So then I kind of plan, maybe just plan around it. I'm just all over the place, to be honest with you. I'm kind of like, I have certain days I'm structured and other days I'm just all over the place. But I think Thursdays will be okay. Yeah.
because then, yeah, then I could combine it and I'll go. It will allow me to go down to the beach, make sure I have internet access all the time because they've been changing lines up here. We had a mudslide that happened a couple months ago that they just finally cleaned up. I think the street is now like accessible. Blah blah blah.
Right.
But it will be an opportunity to have this, always have Wi-Fi, and at the same time be by the beach and go to enjoy that either before or after, or
All
both.
right. Yeah. Plus you can get more creative at the beach, right?
I feel so. I feel there's that opportunity. There's something about the ocean that's always been for me. I grew up in Maryland, so we had the Chesapeake Bay and had the ocean nearby, and that's kind of part of it. And
Interesting. Yeah, because I was in Maryland for about 9 years before I came here.
you said what part? I forget. Beltsville.
Um, well, no, my ex-husband and I, we've moved a few times. We were in Elkridge for the longest time. Before that, it was in Arbutus and Catonsville. I don't know if you're familiar, but
I lived in Catonsville like the first part of my life
oh, that's
up
funny.
until about third grade, and then moved down to Anne Arundel County. So
That's interesting. I really liked it there. It was pretty neat. It was sort of like cross between the city and the country. Like you could have both. Like it was.
it was.
Yeah, it was like I remember traveling there. And it's funny because my father's or whatever family ancestors are from Maryland. So my grandmother lived in Maryland when we used to visit her all the time from New York. So it's just interesting. Must have some sort of connection there. But
Mhm.
yeah, and we used to go to the whatchamacallit, the sea the port.
Yeah, the Inner Harbor.
The Inner Harbor, yeah.
Yeah,
That was nice.
it's a beautiful place, and that got packed as well. So everything's ever growing,
I
especially
know,
in that
yeah.
area. And that was, I mean, really for me, that's like 35 years ago. I went back at one point in time in my like teenage years and didn't recognize anything because it had been built up so much. Right.
Yeah, I know. I know. But I mean, there's some areas that are still, you know, pretty cool, like not as like more there's more nature in certain areas. You could not as built up, I guess. Because we used to travel. We had a business. We used to travel to so many different areas, and so I got to see a lot of different towns and cities, and we used to do. I was landscaping and home improvement. So we used to always like have customers in different areas and
And
just
see it
travel.
all.
Yeah, I got to see a lot of it, but yeah, so it's pretty neat. But anyway, yeah, so yeah, so the beach, we go to Ocean City every year, like with my one girlfriend, she goes, it's like a tradition. She goes with her son and I I hop along. Yeah, so we should go together, and I take my daughter, and I like Ocean City a lot. I mean, you know, it was like you said years ago, probably a lot nicer, but it's still nice.
It is still nice. We would go down to a little further down south. My parents actually live north now in Delaware, just like a little further north than Rehoboth Beach, so not too far from that space. But Assateague Island, go down there and camp out, and it was just beautiful. It was a lot. I mean,
Yeah,
you're camping, and it's a national park. You got the wild horses.
yeah.
Know how to open up coolers and
That's funny because I have a picture of the wild horses on my Facebook from a couple few years ago.
it's
It's
beautiful.
like, yeah, we went to Aztec Island too. It's really pretty, really beautiful over there. But
Are you in the visionary? You're in the visionary program, right? Because
I'm
you
in the
weren't there. You weren't there yesterday.
well, I'm in the visionary program, but I graduated from there and I just haven't, I keep wanting to go back, but I just feel like sort of bombarded because I took on new things,
Mhm.
like now new courses and new things. And between my daughter, I have a lot of family stuff, and my daughter's looking at colleges for my daughter. And then I started working again because I was on unemployment. So I had a little more time back then. I was on unemployment with COVID and all that. And then I
Gotcha.
had more time. So I kind of was like, oh, let me take this course. And like now I have more time. But then, when COVID ended, and, you know, I
So,
was like, I really would love to do it again. And I wouldn't mind like doing the coaching part of it. But that's when I started my business because I'm like, well, I had this issue with my eyes with the driving. So I'm like, well, how can I transition into a profession that's more relaxing and life-giving? So I just said, well, I need to do something. So I needed to start my Reiki business. And
mhm.
even if it's a slow going thing, I need to kind of let that go because it was taking a toll on my health, and especially my eyes. So I still do it. And I luckily got these really awesome holistic jobs. I don't know, it must have been a miracle. And they've been working, thank God, but I don't want to rely on them. I don't want to do that and then say, well, I might as well, I'll just use the drops and everything will be okay. I want to be able to kind of restore, I want to be able to do the Reiki. I really love doing that. And then I'm also incorporating crystal healing and eventually sound healing with that. And so it's one of my passions. So, but I also want to do coaching. I love to do the breakthrough coaching. And being that I'm now sort of part of a community at the Holistic Center, kind of have my shoe in. I have a treatment room and everything. I share it with
Beautiful.
the lady. So I kind of have a shoe in. I've started doing my first workshop. I'm thinking it could kind of segue into another workshop of doing the breakthroughs with people in my area, like sort of. So that's kind of where I'm
That's
seeing my
awesome.
vision going. Yeah. So because I guess it's just like, and that's why I veered off into a different direction with the breakthrough class because I saw myself, I had a vision of myself doing this, offering it, and then I was going to get a certificate online. I think you can get like a certificate like as an emotions coach actually online, and I was like, well, I could just do that because I like to have a certificate, something to show, even though I probably don't need it, but I don't know. I feel like maybe it might benefit me. I could show the Holistic Center. I have a piece of paper, you know. Um,
I
so
I feel that, and also like some of the best certifications is just people saying like the impact that you've had on their life, and those go a lot. I've personally felt that they've gone a lot further. Maybe it's because I've done it through music. I had no schooling in it, and I've just done it from sheer inspiration, and that's what and that that can be typically seen through me talking compared to when I have a bachelor's of science in electronics engineering, and I used that paper to get into the corporate world. Um, and but it still wasn't my inspiration. So, uh,
Right. So what did you do for work out of curiosity? Or I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
oh no, it's all good. A couple different places. Like one, the main space that I went to was we developed software for detecting fraud within bank accounts and fraud, and also anti-money laundering software. And I did a little programming. That's actually what I was hired on for. And then I moved over to customer service and was kind of, I could speak both languages from the software programmer's point of view, and also translate that over to the users. So I was kind of the in between there and could translate, what was going on, and also translate from management to the software programmers, like what they needed to do. Because a lot of programmers have their own little language with their computer, and that's their human interaction isn't as robust as their interaction with the computers most of the time. So, and
right,
I feel like there's a trade-off there. The more time you spend in front of your computer, the less time you have human interaction as well. So it kind of does go hand in hand. I could see that. So
right.
that's where I was at. I ended up, I feel like I retired when I was 28, because that's when I uh, quit and went and did music full time. And I was making almost six figures at that point. And it was just, I would go in. We also downsized because of in 2008, we had the recession. And then I had my own office, went into, I don't know if I just spoke with this with somebody recently, but I was in a room with two computer programmers then, and they're just typing away all the time, and I was getting physical headaches. Like I would have headaches, and I couldn't focus, and I took that as a sign, like, all right, if you can't physically be here, maybe it's time to move on. So I actually put in my 2 weeks, and then they hired me on as a consultant, and I could work from home. So it was like I created that, and I was able to maintain doing my music and still consult on,
Wow.
on the side. And that's because I chose myself, actually. Like it was, when you're in those positions, sometimes you forget and kind of like, you know, look at yourself a little lower. It's almost a fearful thing, and you don't stick up for yourself. And I did, and that's what ended up happening. It was beautiful.
Wow, that's great. Yeah. You chose to love yourself first.
I did. My car accident helped me out with that, because I had an intuition that I wasn't listening to, and when I look
Was that
back,
after? So was that
no,
after you?
it was before. It was
Oh, okay.
before. So it was a precursor to follow my intuition and listen to my internal, my internal voice or whatever, just what I felt in my gut. And I didn't do that beforehand. It almost cost me my human experience, and I said that I would follow it. And that's also led me to where I left Melissa and my kids, just because inside something was missing, and it was just telling me, I have no idea what it was. And there was just, it just wasn't, in the totality of it all, it just wasn't where I felt it was.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. I think like, because I had a couple car accidents too when I was younger, but I feel like your car, like my experience with my ex-husband was like your car accident because, and it ended up being taking me to such a, I don't want to, I don't know how to describe it, except it was like a very dark place in the end. Um, it was just like, and no, it's funny because a lot of people say I could write a book about it, but um, it was like he was pretending to be this spiritual guru, and I kind of fell for it. Not, I don't have to say he was pretending. I think he really thought he was, and I was following him as if he was my savior. Meanwhile, the lesson I learned was invaluable because I learned that I can only be my own savior. Nobody can else do it. Nobody else can do it for me. But I felt in the moment that I met him, I felt like very vulnerable. I felt like I needed someone to save me. I was a single mom in New York City with two kids from two different dads. And the second one, I was having meltdowns for a while with him, because he was addicted to pills and stuff. And he had some sort of bipolar extreme. Um, so I guess I felt like I needed someone to rescue me. And so that's kind of how I kind of fell into the arms of my ex-husband, now he's my ex-husband, but whatever. Um, so I felt like it was really odd because he isolated me completely. Even though he did it, I let it happen.
Right.
So from all my friends and family, it came to the point where I was like, it was just me, him, and my daughter. And it was just starting to get like dark and dreary for me because I felt like I couldn't do my aspirations. It was all about him because he was like an extreme narcissist. But I think what I got from it was that recently what I'm realizing is that I must have had some narcissism too, because for me to attract three narcissists back to back, it was teaching me that I had some narcissism in me. And I did some things early in my life that um, I would say I wasn't, well, I don't want to say I wasn't proud of, but let's just say I was very spiteful and proud. Like if you did something to me, if it was a guy, if he did something to me, I would just be very like spiteful or revengeful or, you know what I mean? So then I feel like I attracted that on purpose, sort of. So, but anyway, at the end of it, it was when I was just praying a lot and I had this like weird churning in my solar plexus. Like I feel like claustrophobic, like my wings are clipped, like I kept shrinking. I felt like I kept shrinking more and more. And so I just started like speaking up and telling him like what I wanted out of the relationship. And I felt like he started getting more angry, like angrier and angrier, because he felt like he was losing control, I guess. And so in the end, I feel like because we both were studying the law of attraction all the time, and I think my prayers must have sent a signal for him to say, I don't think we're good. I don't think it came from his mouth. Like, I think we should separate. But he was doing it to see how I'd react. So anyway, but long story short, I went back a couple more times, but at the end, I kind of, in the aftermath, I saw all the lies, all the inauthenticities, because I felt like it was a wool, like I had a wool pulled over my eyes the whole entire time. Because my one girlfriend said, go get some books and read about narcissism and, these disorders. So I got this one book and he had like 4 out of 5 of them. So I don't know if you know, like somebody who's histrionic, but it's a disorder, somebody who believes their own lies and they tell stories based on their lies, but they tell you these stories that sound so authentic. Like he told me he met with Jack Canfield, had lunch with him, Tony Robbins, like, because he went to some of the seminars, or I don't know if it was virtual, but just because, he was interested he had seen The Secret and I'd seen The Secret. So we were both interested in the same topic of, law of attraction. But anyway, but in the
So that's
end,
almost like transformation for evil too, in essence, from one of the distinctions that we have in the visionary.
yeah,
It
is that,
also feels like that might have been like, you said that you were narcissistic, but maybe you were also in the sense of a victim based off of the triad, and
yeah,
that
the
you were
victim.
playing the victim and they were being the heroes when you started calling out the hero for what he was truly doing, which was keeping you, as a victim, and you started stepping into your own, um, he couldn't keep you as a victim any longer if you didn't, if you were not wanting to be.
Yeah. But I also felt like somebody's life would have been in danger because I just spoke to him. I didn't, there was a point that reached, I don't know, it was like maybe 8 months before I left or somewhere around there, but is when um, he said something. It was such something very small, like, "Oh, can you look for something in the kitchen or something?" Something like, I think I said, "Well, it should be here. You can find it here. Why don't you come and look for it or something?" But it wasn't like cursing or yelling or anything. And he just got this rage in him and he came in the kitchen. He's like, "What did you say?" And he had a knife in his hand. And I'm like, and he's looking at me with these bulgy eyes, like, and breathing heavy, like he's going to stab me. And I'm like, and I just looked at him, and I don't know, it sounds crazy, but I just looked at him and said, "Go ahead." I just said, "Go ahead." I didn't believe he was going to do it, but that was my defining moment. That
Mm.
my daughter witnessed it too. I was like, "Call the police." So that was my defining moment. I had to silently figure out how to get out of my trap because I don't want I don't want to subject my daughter to this either.
Right.
So it was coming to the point where either I would have exploded on him or he would explode on me. And he was a very big, strong guy. So, I don't know. I had to silently, quietly figure out a plan in my head and then little by little kind of execute it, but being very calm about it because God forbid, because he would have rage fits sometimes. So, but anyway, so that's my lesson. And when I got my divorce, I told my attorney, I'm like, I don't want to know. I don't want him to knowing where I live. Just you can put the county on there, but not my address because, whatever. And that was it. And it was like a peaceful, I didn't want anything from him and, whatever. It was just a peaceful, everything done to just the lawyers and no contact. So I was blessed. I have to say I'm blessed because I feel like unscathed, you know,
That
but
you got to see that dark side, but and yet, as long as you have that awareness and you can take that experience fully without having to fully experience it in essence of like pain and like physical pain is where I'm going with that. Was a threat with a knife is not good.
no. And then I just felt like I got stronger. I felt like, well, from this point forward, I'm just going to speak my mind to anybody from the get go because I want them to know who I am from the first moment that they meet me. Like I'm just going to show who I am authentically. I'm not going to, like pretend to be someone else. Like most of the time in relationships, people do that or, maybe not mature relationships, but younger people, or I have in the past. And somebody else or my partner would. And then after 3 or 4 months or 6 months, you're 8 months, you're both kind of like, you know, in love with
Mhm.
each other. There's a connection and it's like, well, okay, well, what do I do? It's, oh, let me try to fix that person. He can change,
It's
but
because, and it's because you're not in love really with them. You're in love with the mask that they've been wearing, and they're in love with the mask that you've been wearing. And so, that actually was a question I was going to ask about that instant where you said it should be here. Was that something that you typically did, or did you typically go get it for him and give it, if he was asking for something? What was what was
oh,
the because
yeah, I think that's what it was. I think that he was used to me. I felt like in the end of it and the aftermath, I saw this whole picture, a whole different picture. Like we were his little slaves. We needed to do what he said. And if we didn't do it, you know, um,
and you
he
also
would,
created that by doing it in the first place. So
yes, yes.
so you were a piece of that creation, and that's basically the same thing, is that both of you were wearing masks that so and it's a codependency. You rely on each other in those spaces. You said that you at the beginning of it you were looking kind of for a hero or somebody to fill a space, so he filled it and you filled a space for him because neither one of you were complete, had something missing inside yourselves, which is exactly what happened with me and Melissa. Like, we came together as two broken, lost souls. And, worst case scenario, we have two beautiful children together. We are walking, like, after these hot seats that happened this last week. I know that she wants to be on a healing journey. I didn't feel that before. And and she also took her own little journey to get to that point, to realize that she wanted to come back, because she started going back towards hanging out, having fun, and getting the instant gratification. Also started dating a guy that filled voids for her, and it was she then noticed the same repeating pattern, that it's a codependent relationship, which is what ours was, is that we filled those voids since we weren't full inside. And then once, for me, it was like I was doing this stuff for her. I wasn't following my inspiration in music and continuing that as much as I would have loved to. And she was, and I'm only speaking to this because I feel that we're both
Right.
in really good spots. And I would say the same thing to her. Actually, I have already said the same stuff to her, that I ended up getting resentment. I would build up resentment, and it was almost like I would pop every once in a while. And as when you said like the bipolar thing, like I was looking at it in our scenarios, like, man, I could have been looked at as bipolar, because I'm relaxed majority of the time, but then as stuff builds up where I don't feel that codependent relationship is being met equally, then it's like, damn, I'm doing more work in this than she is, or whatever, and I'm sacrificing more to this relationship than she is, and it would end up bursting. It would mellow out for a little bit, get back into a nice little cycle, and then it would do the same thing. And it was like there's only so much time that your continuation of that we can do, um,
Right. Right.
and then until we draw that line for ourselves, and in that, so that cycle doesn't repeat, we uh we need to fill clean ourselves up and fill ourselves up as well with that light, and be that light, so we can then exude like what our inspiration is, what path we're taking. And during that, somebody will come along that is walking side by side, um, that could be the divine union in that sense, instead of filling voids of each other and creating codependency.
Yeah, for sure. There's this one book I read, and I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's just, anyway, but in the book, oh, The Celestine Prophecy. Have you heard of this book or
No,
the movie? There's a
I'm
movie that was made from it too.
I'm not a big reader or movie person. I
Oh, well,
just
I
I
used to
like
read a lot more. I don't read as much, but there's this one book that really stuck with me. I read it in my 20s, and it turned into a movie. Anyway, but there's one chapter in it that talks about being two complete circles.
hmm
And then when you meet, the relationship is so much better, like way better, than if you're two half circles. So I used to tell them that. I used to tell my ex-husband that, the thing about the two full circles, and he would, refute it. He would just say, no, no, you complete each other. You're two half circles. You complete. He didn't understand the concept, but I don't think. It's funny because I thought he was more of a spiritual person than I was at the time. So I'm like, why isn't he understanding this? But so it goes to show that maybe he wasn't as, spiritual. I don't want to say spirit, maybe as deep or spiritual as I thought. But anyway, but I really believe in being a full circle first, you
hmm
know. Um, and I think that when you have a relationship and you're more of a full circle, more in touch with who you are, it makes for a much, much better relationship, I feel. Um, but that's the thing, you have to really know who you are. You have to, um, like you said, said something about boundaries and, drawing a line, or, you have to just be strong enough to be and just get in tune with who you are as much as you can, or at least know that you're on the way to it.
And this almost comes full circle to what you were saying at the beginning of this, how you have so much on your plate and going on, and using our sacred no allows us to start drawing those boundaries and creating that space for ourselves to, if to listen to be to have the space to listen to our inner being, compared to always doing. And when we're always doing, we just don't have that time or that space to actually even listen to ourselves. uh,
Right.
and drawing those lines says, this is where my commitment is. This is, and you're committing to yourself in that regards, which is self-care. I mean, this is funny that this is all like visionary stuff.
I know. Like I was a little disgruntled this morning because I usually don't bring my daughter to school. So I was up late on the computer and doing some work on the computer. And because sometimes I stay up late working on the computer because, I did put a lot on my plate. So she gets me up. Usually her boyfriend drives her to school. He just got a car. And, Mom, can you drive me to school? I'm like, oh, gee, okay. So I had to go to school and I had to bring some forms. And, I still have to do stuff, even though she's a senior, but I have less responsibilities with her, which is kind of letting me have more time to do other things, which is good. But I just, being that, like, sometimes if I don't sleep that good, I have to do a meditation. So that's what I did. I was like, let me just center myself because I felt like I was all over the place, and I just centered myself. And I do Reiki on myself or a meditation or do a breathing exercise, and then I just feel more centered and more relaxed and feel like I can just approach the day in a much better way. So that's
And I
what I
found
do.
myself doing that a couple times throughout the day, just to, depending on what's going on. And we got a bunch of construction going on here. So to be able to center, and actually it that centering and silencing drowns out all the noise and stuff that's going on. So it's still going on, but it allows me to go inside and get to that peace internally. And actually, I have something
Go
from
ahead.
what you just said, that I was up late last night as well. And I don't know. I've just had a lot of inspiration. Ended up staying up till like 12:30. I laid down at 9 and went through a bunch of stuff. Then got up at like 5. And this is around kids actually, and it has to do with how kids spell love. The way your kids spell love is Time. So spending time with them. And what I found in this little article was that our minds aren't like fully developed until we're 28 years old. So to still be able to spend that time and give kids safety and security, um and I don't know why I'm even speaking of this, is just when you were talking
No,
of it, it
no, it's
was
okay. Say it's fine. We're just going with the flow.
but you took time to spend with your daughter, and like, even though it may have felt like out not the flow that you were expecting, you still were
Right.
able to do that and be there with your
Yeah.
daughter. I think that's where it came from.
Yeah. And I think, well, her father passed away. So I have to be the mother and the father. So that's kind of like, you know, that's it's a little bit challenging, but I mean, I'm doing it, but it's just the fact that I feel like I have to fill the shoes of both parents. And there's some stuff we went through together. I try to get her to go to a counselor, to deal with some things because she was having like a rebellious phase a little bit. I
Hmm.
think a little bit. I think there might have been some resentment toward me that I, you know, went a different route, and she came to Maryland to live with me. And then a few months after that is when he passed away. So I think she blamed herself. Um, there's some blame. I think it's just a natural thing that goes on. I think I blame myself too, a little bit. His mother blamed herself. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, I've connected back with her family, with his brother and his mother, like, because, I was isolated for all that time. So I ended up, after leaving the marriage, I just reconnected with everybody. And it felt so freeing because I had like freedom of choice finally.
Mhm.
So, but anyway, but so I guess that's like my biggest challenge is having to fill the shoes of a mother and a father and trying to be the best mother and father I could be, to her.
Well, we
But
have within all of us the divine feminine and the divine masculine, and we find that balance within ourselves. We don't need the other, like an actual man or woman to be that. We can balance that within ourselves where we're not really, we may hold the space of both, but not really filling a void in essence. And that's kind of where I'm trying to go. Like I flowed more in the feminine side, and I'm trying to create my the divine masculine channels. And um I'm being it's been suggested to me to overpendulate towards the masculine, to 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 push me over that way a little more right now. So I guess maybe in time in time it will balance out a little quicker compared to just doing it a gradual thing. But we have that balance within ourselves for both of those. Just food for thought.
yeah, no, I definitely sometimes have identified with my masculine energy. Because I'm very like, I don't know, my daughter tells me, like, you're in tune with your masculine energy. Because I'm very, I'm kind of like aggressive, not like I'm subtly aggressive, but I go for things I want to go for, and I'll just go. I went to the Daily News. I went straight. I'm like, I'm not gonna mess around with everybody's, going in circles. I'm just gonna go straight to the source. But I've always been like that. But it's like if there's something I want, and I've done that with my relationships too, like, which I'm trying, I'm single now, but I've done that in the past, like going after usually the person, I'd go after. And it didn't maybe work out the best. Why, it's like you don't know, but things have a way of, I guess everything's meant to be, but yeah, so you know,
This is such in parallel. Like again, coming from being more of a feminine, personally, this is so in line with my life, but on the opposite side of it. And
yeah,
I feel like that's kind of what's happened within our society in general, is that women haven't felt safe in the divine masculine because the divine masculine hasn't really been there, So um so in that process, the feminine have overcompensated and gone to the basically been toxic masculine, trying to do stuff that is unnatural, like in the grand scheme of the order. And that ends up creating those relationships that become codependent because yeah, we're in spaces that we really aren't supposed to be, but it does fit for what it is at that point in time, until somebody who starts flowing into the natural direction, whether go to female going
right,
into the feminine. But and I've, again, because of me not having divine masculine channels, it's been my big, since October, what I've just been looking at, and I've followed it back to pretty much all of my relationships, that the women that I was with, they held more of a masculine energy within the relationships, as I had more of a feminine aspect in the relationships. And it sounds, I mean, similar to what you have, that you held more of a masculine maybe, and then when you were drawing lines and made the guy feel feminine or not in his power and question.
right. Except for my last one, he became the masculine. I became I think I felt like I was trying to do something different that time, but then I don't know if it, you know, everything, like I said, everything works out in the end, but at that time is when I was like, no, I need a savior. I need like a man's man. I need, you know, um, because my daughter's father was just, he had some sort of weird anxiety issues. Like he wouldn't even, he would come over my house, my apartment, and then he would be there for an hour and leave and say he's going to his mother's house to bring the cat and stay over the weekend. Like, we have a daughter. You don't want to, like, I don't know. It was just toward the end. It was the weirdest thing that I was like, um, you know, he was an actor too. So he was, I don't think he was trying to pursue his acting career. I think he was just, I don't know, confused and had some things and, but I don't know why I'm getting into all that. But my whole thing is that I feel like after the string of relationships I had, I was like, I really want someone to be like of masculine energy, which he was almost extreme masculine energy. And then he was requiring for me to be extreme feminine energy, which I couldn't provide that for him. I feel that's what was missing for him. And he kept trying to change me, and I kept trying to change him. And I also felt that the reason why my feminine energy was starting to lack was because I was starting to feel very like limited and like not in tune with who I was anymore. Like he was, you know, I was, even though he did that to me, I created it too. So I can't really just blame him, but that's how I felt at that time. Like he's doing this to me and I feel like I'm shrinking, like I'm not really expressing who I really want to be. And then I was resenting him. And so anyway, but so
It's
I couldn't really, you know, be
it's
that
not it's
feminine.
not it's not any way. It's not any way. It's beautiful. Thank you very much for sharing your journey. And actually, I feel like that's kind of where maybe this is. I, I feel like that's kind of been the talk of recently is this the divine masculine feminine energies, and just it seems like it's come up over the last few weeks pretty pretty potently, I guess. So, and I apologize for that interruption while you were in your flow.
Oh no, no, it's okay. I just it's just very interesting topic, you know, because like, you know, you kind of you look through your life and you look, okay, well, this is, and it's funny because now I'm at the point of an observer, especially since earth waking. I'm observing my whole life, how it's gone, and the whole dynamic of the triads or the relationships and the heroing and, you know,
Mhm.
and the mutual heroing. Because my ex-husband, I did some heroing too, you know, but then I became the villain, you know. It's just funny. It's just, it's so, the whole thing is really interesting and awesome. And yeah, but it does give you a feeling of creativity because like, it's funny when you sent me the link for the lyrics in lunch and and you sent me the reason why you were doing it and you were talking about, you know, you said something about you were going to do songs based on the distinctions. I had thought of that in my head, like, wouldn't it be awesome to write songs, you know, based on the distinctions or based on these topics, you know? So anyway, so I just thought I'd mention that. That was pretty awesome.
There we go. We're aligned there. We're aligned.
But yeah, but as far as your ex, so she's like, so she's trying to have a healing journey now. So maybe there's like opportunity for you guys maybe to
I'm
reunite.
not, I'm maybe, and I'm not even going to look at that. Like, that's not, I have work to still do on myself, which is what I'm concentrating on. So,
Right.
uh,
I get that.
and if it's meant to be, it will be meant to be, you know. So, and if not, it's not. Just, I that was another thing my car accident did for me was allow the observation, and then in that process, seeing how important just being in the here and now and not thinking about all these other things
Like,
going on.
right, all the possibilities.
because we
Yeah.
could sit
Or
here.
expectations, right?
Yeah, and then when expectations, if you're attached to them, that turns into a whole nother thing, you know, as long as if you have and really expectations, I think do end up typically come with attachments. I'm pretty much unattached to any outcome, and that allows me to be in the moment, in the here and the now. And I do need a little more focus on that, maybe, which is something that came up in Visionary yesterday because some Alejandra used the word urgency in something, and I don't really have any urgency in life. So it struck me in some capacity, like, I don't know, just urgency felt like there was something wrong with what's going on, or looking into the future and
Right.
having some anxiety about it. And then Kirk used the word this morning at breakfast, and I was like, well, thank you for using it and showing me the high side of urgency, which I kind of had already dove into last night after Visionary.
Right. So when did you join the Visionary program?
Back in October. So I did my 12 weeks and then took 6 weeks off. And I'm about 6 or 7 weeks into the coaching space of it now.
Okay, because I started last September, the September before so what are we now? February. So what, I think a year and a half ago. That was, I'm trying to think because I don't remember. But I started around the same time Alejandra started and Christy. And I don't know if you knew, but Christy stayed for a little bit with me and then she cat sat for me while I
Yeah,
went
she
to
did tell me that she
visit.
cat sat for you.
Yeah. And I kind of wish I could have spent more time with her because, we had that connection, but I had to leave in a couple days for Texas and then she was gone when I came back. But yeah, so I started around that time and then I was all set to do the coaching, but when the opportunity showed up to do the breakthrough class, I really loved it so much. So I was like, I felt like just doing the whole year. Like, and I signed up for the whole year. And then I kind of was like, oh, okay, well, I don't know about the going back to Visionary right now because I have more than I thought.
Understood.
But I was wondering because Christy was explaining to me that I could still attend once in a while, but I didn't know what the rule was as far as I think she said something to the effect of like I still have to do an essay and a video every time, but I wasn't sure. So I didn't know if to talk to I did reach out to Stephanie, but she never got back to me. So I was like, well, maybe it's not meant to be right now. So
When did you reach out to Stephanie? Because she kind of stepped away herself.
um
I
it
don't
was
think it was
probably around the
anything
time.
official, or I don't think it was any. Maybe it was something official, but I haven't seen her in the Visionary for a while. So
Maybe it was maybe about maybe 6 months ago or something, somewhere around there. And I did reach out and I didn't get a response. So I was like, well, maybe this is just my sign. I didn't want to be aggressive about it. I was like, maybe it's just my sign to just cool off, do the breakthrough class because it's, it doing the breakthrough class for a year is like you don't think it's a lot, but it is because you're doing the inner work and
mhm.
um, it's so it can kind of, you can feel a little scraggled. Like sometimes I feel a little bit like, you know, just
Well, if you're doing a breakthrough every day, I mean, that's just so much energetic stuff there itself. And I know that's what Chris, um, she likes. And then on top of that, you have your small group get-togethers for an hour, which generally brings something up that we go find ourselves in. So if nothing else, you're already getting at least two breakthroughs a week that you have this energetic stuff. And if you're going at it
yeah,
full force, I mean, 7 breakthroughs a week, and that's just assuming it's one a day. I had the intention that I was just going to do the 6 weeks and be out myself because I wanted to learn the actual processes so I can be of service to anybody that I come in contact to, at least minimally, and then I could pass them on to others. Your situation, it sounds like a year was perfect for you. you know, because you're also bringing that into your Reiki and being able to cross pollinate that with what you have going on already. And I kind of saw the correlation with when I was doing music. I got tired of playing guitar and singing 6 nights a week, so I started DJing. I had the same contacts and could just really jump into these spaces very easy, just with a different way. And it saved on my guitar playing, my fingers, and my voice, because I wasn't writing as much as I used to, you know, playing all the time. So it makes you, it keeps, you can go into the same spaces but with a diverse, with some diversity to it, so you don't get burnt out on any, which, you know, one way or the other, and it keeps you inspired in both avenues. So it's actually very beautiful for you, I believe.
Yeah, I'm the type of person I like to like I don't like getting stagnant or bored, so I like to keep it fresh. So I like to kind of like I always pray about multiple sources of income. Like, okay, because if I do one thing too long, I'm like, I can't keep doing that. I have to do something else.
Hmm.
But I feel like the Reiki for me is it's like a whole new, like it's a whole other world. Like it's just so um it's intriguing, I have to say, because I keep wanting to learn more about the chakras. Or like just today, I had a revelation or an epiphany because I'm doing the sound healing course, and I was look as I was doing last night on the computer. I was finishing up my record, looking at the recording, taking notes, and then what came to me was that because I'm looking into getting a singing bowl. What came to me is that, oh my God, every chakra has a note that corresponds to the chakra. And I
Hmm.
wasn't completely aware of that. So I know it has a color, but no. So it just came. I was like, wow, maybe I could do sound healing in the future, with healing the chakras. Cause I already did my second session. Well, I just have one client a month, but she wants to come to me every month. But so the second session, I just included the crystal healing for her. And so I guess I'm like just getting inspired of like, what else could I do with chakra balancing or chakra healing? So I guess that's what I like. I like to do things in the sense that I can keep getting inspired, even if I'm doing something similar, but I can go deeper with it, you know?
We have, Melinda has a singing bowl set with all the notes of the chakras, all the same, the
Oh,
colors that
wow.
correspond with it. And it was we had we did a bonfire and broke out all of our percussion instruments and had a bunch of singing bowls going. I can't remember what day, maybe Saturday or Friday or something. It was just like the sound and the energy that was going on that evening. Like, I think pretty much everybody had their eyes closed and we were just feeling the vibrations and the pulses that were going on there. And it was just so, at least I was, I'm assuming everybody else was, because people spoke of it and said that they went different places. But
Right.
have you come down to Costa Rica yet? Have you been down here?
No, I was
No.
going to come with Christy, but circumstances didn't allow.
You
Um,
have any intentions at all by chance?
I do. It's just, um,
I feel
I have
you.
to figure out my situation, and financially I'm kind of like, I mean, I'm okay financially, but I'm getting to the point where I'm trying to like get my finances up, because I'm looking to buy a house in the area and stuff like that. But I'm toying with the idea. I just don't know when.
Right.
And then also I don't know, I'd like to get a cheap ticket because the tickets that I looked at when I was thinking of going with Christy were like a few $100 round trip, three,
And they've
four,
just
five.
gone up.
They've gone up. But
It is summertime down here as well, so that's part of the reason. And I also
right,
feel like a big reason is gas prices as well.
right,
Um,
right.
I didn't really see when that price increase happened, so I can't correlate it with one or the other directly, but it has to do with both.
Right, right. And then if I go, I don't want to go just for a few days. I want to go for like a good amount of time, and then I'd have to plan it. I mean, the good part is that I'm fluent in Spanish, so I can get around and, that's I would say the good part of it. So I could find my way asking questions, but I've never been there. So it's a little scary, but I've never been to Costa Rica, but
I
I
mean,
don't know.
it's you're making it scarier than what it is, but it's
Right. No, it's a little
um,
scary because it's a different country, and I've never been really technically to South America, but I'm sure it'd be fine. But
I think you can handle yourself.
right. When did you go down there? Did you and your wife go down together? Like what
We
happened? Like,
did. Her family has property down here, so we came down here just after our daughter turned 1. That was the first time I came down here with her, and pretty much since that moment, I had it in my mind that we were going to be down here. At least I was going to be down here. The environment here physically is, especially coming from DC area and being Baltimore. So I was surrounded by Baltimore, DC, and Annapolis where I was there, and the suburban bubble. It there's just it's a lot more tranquil here. Even
right.
with the construction going on, people are friendly. People love people.
Americans?
They do love Americans. It may not be for the correct reasons because they understand we're coming in as tourists and with money typically. So
Right.
there is that caveat to it. And also, I haven't really had any issues with that unless I created those expectations. And generally, I cut those expectations off. Like if I, had bought my friends beers for a couple times or whatever it was. Uh,
Right. So how long have you been down there?
so we came down before the pandemic for an extended trip. So November of 2019 is when
Okay.
came down, and pretty much have been down here ever since. Used the pandemic again. We wanted to come down here officially at some point in time, and then we used the pandemic to stay down here, and have just been kind of following inner guidance ever since.
Right, right. Do you have to get the visa every 3 months? Because
We
down here,
do. Also, our son was born down here, so we get the residency.
oh, okay. That's
Haven't
interesting.
gone through the paperwork with that, but that's kind of glad because the main lawyers and service for that, just the owner of it just left Costa Rica, and there's like took $30 million or something from people that thought that they were getting their residency here, and it's like this whole criminal act now.
Oh, wow.
It's and it just became aware of publicly like within the last week or two. So it's like a big thing down here that a lot of people got ripped off that were searching for their residency or trying to get their residency.
Right, right. So basically you do consulting there? Like, is that, do you like, or do you make a living doing music?
I do music and then live in here at the village. Basically doing working in the village and creating this space here. I was brought in as event coordinator, and how I originally met Kirk because I was putting on what was called Family Fridays, and we would have kids games from like 3 to 6 on Fridays. And this was in the middle of the pandemic, and we would do it on the beach, have a bunch of kids games, and then had live music at the restaurant behind. And typically it was myself playing, but it was an open mic, and Kirk heard me playing one night, came over to check it out. He says that he thought I was. He said it the other. He's like, I heard this hot girl singing, and I went over and saw Steven. So I was like, that must have been one of the two songs that I was singing because I sing them in like falsetto.
Oh, okay, that's funny.
And I was like, you must have caught like those parts of those songs. That's the only way that I think I sound like a, a female singer. But
Right. So how do I get it? So how do I do I buy your out? How do I get your album or your songs? Like I don't. Is it
I'll pass them over to you since you're. I
okay?
feel that you're going to be a huge contribution in this, and actually, I have visions on it, like us being able to rotate, maybe running this at some point in time. Not that it's not happening already. I'm going to put my effort, my energy into building it up with um, my my people that are interested in writing, and if nothing else, seeing also this aspect of earth waking as well. You know,
Right. I was wondering what came to me, like what a cool name for like a group. Well, I don't know if we could be a group or what we're going to be, but or a brand would be the Visionaries.
the visionaries.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, I know that that's the John and Kirk's term, I guess, being a visionary. But anyway, I just thought like that'd be a cool name for a band or something, you know. But
Yeah,
I kind of
I heard it as an album where we did a compilation with different songs from what we create from this, from the distinctions or whatever it ends up being, but something along those lines as well. So it's
right,
again, we're aligned in that essence.
right. And so I can send you a few of my songs, but I'd have to have probably your email because when I try to send them to Christy, they didn't go through Facebook Messenger. So if you want to shoot me or have a pen and paper if you want me to write down your email. I could just send forward.
DreaminSteven at gmail.com.
Oh, that's it. That's easy.
Same, yeah, no G in dreaming.
Oh, okay, right. Okay. Yeah, because I could send you a few of mine and then who knows? I mean, we can figure out, I don't know, you could just kind of get a flavor because I have to be honest. I have written different genres. So when I lived in Germany, I wrote folk music with I had three songwriting partners. They're all males. And so I wrote folk music with the first guy. Then I wrote R&B with the second guy in New York. And then the third guy ended up being a dance album. So I
All
can
of
write,
them.
like, and the funny thing, and I did write a song in Spanish. I just want to say I wrote a song in Spanish with the folk songs because the guy that I was writing with at the time had lived in Colombia and he was fluent in German and Spanish. And and then I wrote even one song on my album that was put out, the one I sent you on the Facebook, Feel the Music. One of the
Right.
songs I wrote in two other languages. Little did I know, but you know, I don't know. Like they were translate. I had like two different versions, French and Spanish. But anyway, and my producer used to always tell me at the time, he's like, "Wow, when you sing in English, you're good, but when you sing in Spanish, you're the bomb." I don't know what it is about, I don't know. Maybe there's like something in my mind that happens to switch or when I speak Spanish, or when I sing Spanish, I don't know, but anyway, so kind of like I've always liked like trying different things. So I thought that was kind of neat to try and do a different version of a song in a different language or a chorus maybe in Spanish and a verse in English or
I'm
whatever.
smiling. I'm smiling because I've done the exact same thing. Like I did one of my songs, "Beautiful Day" in Spanish, and then I have other songs that I put like "We Are." So I have a song called "We Are" that I'm about to release. That the chorus is "We are the chance to make it better." So somos el chance de hacerlo mejor. So like I've done the same thing.
That's
ah,
funny. It's
I did
cute.
like a Spanglish rap on one of my friend's songs that lives in Manuel Antonio, like 30 minutes from here where we were living. Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's cool. I like your rap. I like the way you rap. It's pretty cool. So do you know some Spanish?
yeah, I've been down here for,
Okay. So hablas
a couple of
español
years.
un poco, un
Siempre
poco.
practicando.
Siempre estás practicando. Está bien.
in
Está bien. I mean, that's cool.
in Manuel Antonio, it's a really tourist area, and that's where we were living before moving down here a year and a half ago. So pretty much all the locals there were trying to learn English, so they didn't really want to speak Spanish because it helped them get jobs. So I didn't speak as much Spanish there, but since being down here, every opportunity I get, I'm speaking Spanish with, um, yeah, the Ticos or Ticas. And
Tico. Oh, that's the locals.
that's the local, that's Costa Ricans, like what they call themselves, Ticos and Ticas.
Ticos and Ticos. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to go down. I'm just trying to figure out like, because my daughter, I'm trying to get her situated into college, like what she's going to do, where she's going to go. And then I think once, I don't know. And I don't know when they're going to have, it's like, it's kind of hard to plan too, because I don't know when they're going to have their events and I'm not sure how long to stay, and I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd have to attend an ALL, I guess. I don't know how it works, but
No,
is that how it
you could
works
come down
usually?
here and visit. You could come down and visit for a week. Um,
I don't necessarily have to like go to
not very,
ALL.
no, you don't.
Okay. Okay.
Um, you know, I'm with I don't know exactly how the way of the world is back in the States any longer. Like I haven't, everything that I get is hearsay, but I kind of saw where everything was going already. Hence the reason why I was inspired to come down. I was actually looking into Belize before I met Melissa, and then when Melissa and her family had property down in Costa Rica, um, it's not too far away, but it was just the aspect of getting away from the craziness of the states, and I saw it even much more so, especially in Washington D.C. Um,
Yeah. Uh, Go ahead.
where I was going with that was, like I don't know exactly what your feelings are of where the states are, the state of that nation, and where it's heading to. But if you're looking to move, I mean, that's exactly what we're doing down here. Everything that you're aligned with in that regards of the sound healing, and if you're doing it physically one on one, that's one thing. But if you're doing it via Zoom or stuff along those lines, I mean, it just to be able to be down in this space and have inspiration like that around you all the time and have people that are vibrating in the same space as you. It's just, uh, we're ever growing here, and breakfasts we have, it's basically the visionary program for breakfast. So I don't know, it's a beautiful space. So you said that you have an open mind, so I'm throwing that out there too.
Yeah.
That if,
I heard about Christy. She's told, because I've kind of kept in touch with her a little bit. She told me how things are down there, and she goes to breakfast in the morning, right? And that sometimes you're in the hot seat or something that she was explaining to me. Like, I mean, I haven't talked to her in a little bit, but I guess that's what I remember her saying that you know, that when they go for breakfast, when everybody goes to breakfast, sometimes people get put on the hot seat. Is that what goes on?
yeah,
Or
we have what's called our shit bucket, and basically if anybody has any issues or any triggers or anything coming up, whether it be with themselves or with somebody else, we throw it in there. We pull in, it goes in as that person's shit, and then we pull it out and it's all of ours. We find ourselves in it.
okay.
We work through it with that person, and again find ourselves in it, and it helps us all level up. And sometimes our breakfast is almost flow into lunch. So we'll sit there from, we get together at 7:30 in the morning, and typically we'll go to 9, but generally we sit and talk until 10, maybe 11, and it's all like doing inner shadow work with ourselves. Also business within the village and business within what's going on in the outside world, and how we're communicating and doing outreach and
right.
those lines. So
Yeah, I was gonna say I have had a dream like in the past couple of years. I'd love to like work from my laptop so then I could be anywhere in the world. But that's not happening just yet. But you know, but that's kind of like what it is, is the financial part of it. So it's like being self-sustainable kind of situation, um, and independent. And so that's why I'm so busy now, because I'm like, I sort of have a vision of doing whatever I'm doing, but online at some point, like offering that online, and who knows, maybe whatever we're doing here, if we, do something with song distribution or figure something out, maybe something could come out of that, whatever we're doing with our, you know, right now, what we're doing
beautiful.
right now.
What we're creating here and now.
Yeah. So yeah. So
I will be. I hold like I do need to restore integrity on last week because I didn't put the video up as soon as I should have
oh, okay. Yeah.
with
Which is cool. Yeah. You could do it now twice. You could do the two
I
videos.
actually did already post the video in the group that I created for Lyrics and Lunch. I did send you an invitation on Facebook to that. So I don't know
Okay.
if you've joined that group yet or not.
Wait, the dreamer.
I
Wait.
have the Dreamers, which is my personal one, and then I created one called Lyrics and Lunch on
Oh,
Monday,
okay.
and I sent you an invite to it. I have a video
Let me
post,
write it down. Let me write it down.
and I uploaded the video from last week on Monday as well. If you go through your notifications, you should see it. If you don't, I can send you a message with the invitation as well.
No,
And
I'll look for, yeah.
last week, I didn't plan accordingly with having 4 hot seats on Thursday and Friday, and then I was also involved in a benefit for an animal welfare shelter on Sunday, so that was like an all-day thing. So it was just a lot of energy moving in 4 days plus ALL the last week. Those aren't excuses. I just didn't plan accordingly, and I will look into that. And that's part of the flow aspect that I need to put some channels on a little bit and maybe
Right.
have urgency.
Right. Right. I get what you're saying. So there's two types of urgency. Is that what was explained in the visionary
It
program?
wasn't even explained. I just heard Alejandra use urgency, and it felt like it was a low side maybe of urgency to me. And
Right. From
I,
anxiety, like from a
I
feeling of anxiety. Right.
I spoke to it, and in that, Kirk was like, let's leave that open and just, you know, everybody take some time to feel into that. Cause there was actually, I think Sarah was kind of like, she felt something negative with it as well. She didn't specifically say, but I saw her shaking her head when I was speaking to it. And it just felt like in her aspect of it, it was the low side of urgency compared to having urgency. And there is a high side to it. And that's like a real defined focus and, you know, some constraints on it. So, and it's also up to our interpretation. There wasn't really a conclusion
Right.
to it. And then Kirk used the word this morning. And before I went to Hands on the Land, I was passing him. I was like, thanks for using urgency on the high side. And he like understood what I was talking about. He's like, oh yeah, man, I remember that was our conversation that was left open last night.
Yeah. I was going to say Vishen Lakhiani offered a course. I don't know if you heard of him, but where he talks about also the levels of consciousness. And if you can get to a certain level of consciousness, I guess it could be, I guess, fifth level, but where you merge with your spirit. And I wanted to take that course, but I feel like by having done the earth waking and in this breakthrough program, I feel like I'm reaching that. So I don't know if that kind of correlates to what you're saying. I think when you get to a certain level of consciousness, you can kind of merge with your inner being. So whatever goals you have, it's like having your blinders on, and it's a sense of to me it's a sense of exhilaration more than anxiety, like feeling like wow. And then I also sometimes you just have to surrender and meditate and just let go, and then I feel like I feel like, I believe in law of attraction that way, that things just start manifesting that are already in your vortex that you've been thinking about for a long time. And then all of a sudden things will pop up like, wait a minute, like I thought about this a couple years ago, like, or whatever we're doing now. Like I thought about doing songs about the distinctions, and then your thing pops up. So it's just cool. It's interesting. I feel like as long as you stay in that flow and a high vibration as much as possible, you'll manifest things quicker than you even realize. Like,
I'm
that's, yeah.
I'm 100% with you on that, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've stayed in flow more than creating the channels, because I think in essence, universe source kind of has the channels already, and it already knows what it's doing and what it's going to do, and I can just be free flow in it. But then there is an aspect of, I, and that's the space that I'm sitting in, is what is that aspect that I define those channels? Is that forceful against what's going on in the grander scheme of stuff? And I'm fine just staying in flow, because what I've seen is that those miracles and those manifestations happen more often than not if I stay out of the way completely and let it do its thing. And just really even just having those thoughts or those feelings of it creates it. It doesn't even have to be spoken of.
Right. Yeah. It's so cool. The whole thing, the whole topic, everything we're talking about is really cool. So
I don't know
I don't
if
know.
there's probably 10 different songs within this conversation.
I know. I know. So I know you said the end goal, like, I kind of feel like we should have maybe something that we could work toward, even if it's something small, like even if it's just like maybe work on one song and maybe get distribution for it. Even if it's like a small goal, but as long as we're doing something on it, working on it little by little, I
And
feel like,
those are the channels that I was just referencing, that we do have like a focus of the energy that we have going towards something. So if we have it going towards something, then it's and I completely agree with you, but that's kind of the essence of the space that I'm trying to define as well within myself, is to have that. So um
yeah,
my initial vision was that we could each, so if I went and uploaded this video right away, have it ready by this evening, then we each would be able to take from it and um maybe create our own song based off the conversations, and it could be based off our own conversations or conversations within it, the lines. I know last week we had a bunch of really good lines, and it was a little more geared towards, I guess, the songwriting. Here's been more conversational, but
yeah, which
there's so many different things that we could take from it still, and it could define 4 or 5 songs for each one of us.
now I have a question, or I'm having a thought. So, because I think, remember I told you that like I like to start out with a melody, usually more than just writing a poem, even though I've written poems before, but for some reason the melody is more sparks me up
Mm-hmm.
more, like quicker, I think, sparks up the lyrics quicker. Um, so I was just wondering, food for thought, because I have like a bunch of melodies on my couple different phones. If I was able to send you a melody and maybe you could put maybe chords to it, or if you have something instrumental, like it could be so like really simple, then maybe I could put a melody to it. I don't know if are you cool with starting that way, or at least trying to do it that way?
I wrote that down from last time as well. So yes, I'm with that as well. That works
Right.
perfectly for me.
Or maybe, who knows, maybe you might already have a melody with some chords, but maybe you didn't come up with the chorus line, or I don't know. I don't know how we could do it, but anyway, food for thought. I don't know if we can, like, if you just want to we'll just communicate throughout the week and see if there's something you have, and maybe you could just send me, or maybe I could go through my melody lines and see what I have. And if there's something inspiring, if any lyrics come from it, maybe I could send you that, but yeah, with everything we have going on, we'll figure it out, I guess.
So I think this is where that lyrics and lunch group will come in, that we can post in there in the Facebook group. And
Okay,
I would just be able to do a video post it of me playing guitar with you having the sound to it. I could even hum a melody or leave it loose if that's where the space that you want to do is create the melody off of what I'm doing on guitar.
yeah, I've done that. That's fun. I try to do that. Or maybe,
Why don't we go about that way and try it this week along those lines, and you can come up with a melody off of a guitar part that I create, and then from there we can maybe both write separately and then come together and piece it together within that lyrics and lunch group, as we're maybe you come up with four
okay,
lines that you really feel based off of this. And I'm feeling like kind of the topic was like divine masculine and feminine. I don't, something along those lines right now based off of this conversation. So maybe if we gear the writing towards that, how do you,
okay.
how does that resonate
Yeah,
with you?
yeah, that sounds good. And like you said, if once you send both recordings, then if, we could both look on at them, and then whatever we get from it, we can write or try to write a song or a melody from it. I mean, if that's cool. Yeah, that sounds good. And
This,
so,
this
yeah.
is us learning together.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure. That's good because there's like not a lot of ego in the way either, which is good.
I love working with other artists. It's to be honest, that's the only way I really like to work. I do get a lot done when I'm on my own, but that's the whole reason for life and living is connection and being able
Right.
to be able to be, share love and that inspiration and connection together.
Right. What's your horoscope? Just curious.
I'm a Libra, October 11th.
Me too.
You're a Libra? All
The,
right,
the
there you
reason the reason I was thinking you were a Libra, I was gonna say, are you a Libra, but I was like, because when you said working with other people, that's a very strong quality of Libras. They like partnerships with projects, especially, and working, and you know, they like partnerships. So that's why I was wondering, is he a Libra? But I didn't know. So now you tell me. I'm September 24th, so I'm like right on the cusp though. I have a little bit of Virgo, I think.
Yeah, my mom was September 22nd, and I know that she was the cusp. I think she might have been, she wasn't a Libra, so she was a Virgo. Is that what you said?
Yeah, she was a Virgo, but she might have had been on the Libra cusp.
Yeah,
So
because I think it was the 22nd and the 23rd are the separation, maybe, or something along those lines.
Libra starts on the 23rd.
Yeah, so there you go.
Yeah. So, and it's funny because I had a good friend and her birthday was on the 22nd. So it's just interesting. But yeah, and I'm very always intrigued about horoscopes because I think there's something to them. Because when you said that, the partnership that you work better with partners is what clicked in my brain, because I was studying horoscopes for a while, and that was one of the things that stood out about Libra. Because I'm like, no wonder I like always having songwriting partnerships, or you know, you know.
The balancing.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like I get more motivated or more inspired. I feel like it's cool to work with somebody, you know.
I feel that as well.
But anyway, all right. Well, I'll let you go because it's probably
Yeah, I'm gonna
getting
go. I'm
later.
gonna go have lunch. This has been a pleasure, Sophia. Thank you very much. And again, I apologize for the delay and all of that. And it was all perfect. So
Yeah, thanks. That's definitely really good connecting with you. So we
and
seem to have like a lot of stuff in common too.
Yeah, there's definitely a bunch of alignments.
But yeah, for sure. So I will click on the link to the, or to join the group. And then you said that you might post a video or like an audio of you maybe playing some chords, maybe?
Correct. I'll come up with some sort of melody on the guitar, something to just some basic chords from the top. If you like them, we can go with them. If you can find something, and we'll just step that way with it for right now. And
Right,
if
right,
we're feeling that, then we can continue kind of to do that. Or if we feel like we want to shift it, then we're just gonna fire, and if we need to re-aim, we'll re-aim.
right. And then I can send you via email a few of my songs, and then you could just kind of tell me what you think. And who knows, maybe we can even revamp a couple of them. Never
Let's.
know.
Why don't you just post them in the lyrics and lunch thing, and then anybody that's associated with
Right.
this group will be able to work with it too. Because I feel like that's
Okay, sure. All right, great. I'll do that.
all right. Beautiful.
Okay. All right. All
Thank you
right.
very much. You have a beautiful rest of the day. Stay warm. I see you with a jacket on inside.
Yeah, it's snow. It was snowing outside. It
I-
was snowing. Crazy.
I'm
And
glad
you're in
we're here sweating.
I was gonna say you're in summer, I'm in winter, so anyway. All right, cool, awesome. All right, so looking forward to recordings.
Likewise, and I'll post this here in a little bit. You have a beautiful rest of the day.
All right, you too. See
All
you.
right, ciao.
Breathing. Bye.
Ciao.